Hello, and welcome to Danny's podcast, Backyard Sportscast.
You would think it's my podcast the way you started it with my opening, but...
Well, you won't use the opening.
No, you are the host. You open the show.
All right, and I'll do it how I see fit.
Oh, so just like copyright infringement, just, stealing my show. Okay, cool.
You're my co-host, so your stuff is mine.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
Anyways, so welcome to Backyard Sportscast. We had to take a little hiatus the last couple weeks, but we're back in action. And so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. We have a new format that we're going to try out.
It's not really that new.
We have a new format that we're going to try out. It's new to you guys since you haven't really heard us in a while.
We've already done a trial run of this, apparently.
It's a marketing strategy, really. We're giving you something, and you guys are loving it. You're loving these podcasts, right? And then we just take it away from you for a couple weeks. Let you sweat on it, make you want to have us even more. So we're hoping that this expands viewership from about 3 views to about 7. That's the goal.
So that's okay. Cool.
Yeah, we're looking at about 110% increase in viewership. So
okay, I don't think so.
It's attainable. It's attainable if I keep watching it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we have a lot going on. So, instead of just going over some of our better games and games that you guys don't care about when UCF and USF are just dominating people, we condensed our recaps into top 10 events. So, we're going to go ahead and knock that out, and then we're going to talk about this coming week for football, and then we're going to hit up some other sports at the end. So, if you only want to listen to football, you can kind of cut it out after our NFL games of the week. And just a FYI, some of the things that we're going to talk about is coming up tonight, which is Thursday. So by the time you're listening to this on Friday, the earliest, it might have already happened. So you can kind of laugh about what we're saying as opposed to what actually happened. So,
that's poor planning.
Yeah, it's poor planning on Danny's part. He said he couldn't do it until Thursday. So a failed attempt at a Busch Gardens trip.
Right, yeah. And don't worry about the one we recorded 2 weeks ago. Jake's got that one just sitting in his vault somewhere. Didn't want to post it. And then the one last week when I wasn't able to...
Still haven't gotten a win yet. But... They're 0-5, and they have a hopeful game against number 14 Oklahoma State.
Are you taking one of my top 10? Really?
You can have one of mine. What do you want to add to it? My bad.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's it. No, fine. You got the Baylor watch. Whatever.
Is Oklahoma State going to beat Baylor?
No. Baylor's like 25-point underdogs. They're not going to win this game.
Number 9. Go ahead, Danny.
Okay, number 9. Major injuries in the NFL. J.J. Watt for the Houston Texans. Broke his leg, basically. He's got a fracture of his tibial plateau in his left leg. He's out for the season, I believe. I think they have him down as out indefinitely, but it doesn't look like he's going to make it back before the playoffs, if at all. Odell Beckham Jr. for the Giants. He is also out for the year. He had surgery on his fractured ankle. That was a gross injury this past weekend. Right now, the Giants only have one healthy receiver on their roster. Sterling Shepard's out this week, most likely, and Brandon Marshall and OBJ both got hurt last week. So, tough times for the Giants.
Yeah, they're going to start 0-6.
Yeah, they're 0-5 right now. It's really not fun to be a Giants fan at the moment. The only other big one, or relative big one, was Terrence West for Baltimore. He gets carted off the field with a calf injury. He's doubtful this week, but it looks like he'll be back in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Hey, good for them. And this isn't much of an injury, but speaking of people being out, Ezekiel Elliott had what was that thing called? Upheld?
They lifted the injunction that was blocking his suspension. So potentially he could miss the next 6 games. They have a bye week this week, but they could miss the next 6 coming after that.
Yep. So bad timing for all those fantasy players that drafted Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, it's rough for them. He's going to be out until pretty much the end of the fantasy regular season. He'll be back for the playoffs if they can make it that far.
Yeah. So I feel really bad for those who got Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott that were supposed to be the major running backs. Dalvin Cook also got hurt. We didn't put this on the list, but that was a couple weeks ago. So Dalvin's out for the season as well. If you didn't already know that. Yeah. If you didn't know that, I don't know why you're listening to the sports podcast, because obviously you don't get out much. Number 8. Go ahead.
Oh, you just want me to do my 5 first, and you'll do your 5?
Oh my gosh. First, you don't want me to say stuff. Now you do want me to say stuff. Okay.
Well, I'm just curious if you want me to do 5 and then you do 5. If that's what you want to do, we can do it that way. Or if you want to alternate, you pick one of yours.
All right, I'll pick one of mine. So we're number 8 now?
Yes.
Number 8, Adrian Peterson, traded to the Cardinals. Tell me why, Danny. Why did they make that trade?
Because David Johnson's out for the year. That's why.
But they take a senior citizen to replace him?
It's better than what they have. Chris Johnson wasn't getting it done.
So what do you guys think? Go ahead and text us if you do think or if you don't think that was a good trade.
AP wasn't doing anything in New Orleans, so not much of a reason to keep him.
Yeah. Weird trade to me, though. I think that's they probably could have found a better running back. But, that's why I'm not in the NFL, right?
Yeah. I mean, they don't really have much of a run game where they're at right now. They got rid of Chris Johnson to make room for AP. They believe that he can be a number one running back, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they had money better options in free agency or anything like that.
I picked him up on a fantasy team because he was a free agent. So I just picked him up when I started him, see what happens against the Bucks. All right, go ahead. Number 7.
Number 7, last week in college football, there were some top 10 upsets, 2 of them to be precise. Iowa State, who was a 30-point underdog against Oklahoma at home in Norman, Oklahoma. And they went in and pulled off the upset. Oklahoma's defense cannot stop anybody right now. They gave up 41 to Baylor 2 weeks ago, and this week they gave up 38 in the loss to Iowa State. Speaking of Iowa State, their quarterback, Kyle Kempt, 18 to 24 for 343 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had a 25-yard touchdown pass.
To Alan Lizard.
Okay. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Lazard, maybe, Alan Lazard, with 2 minutes and 19 seconds left in the game. Turned out to be the game winner, and tough for Oklahoma. It's going to be tough for them to get into the playoff now with this loss. It's not a good loss when they're going to get stacked up against other one-loss teams if they make it back to, they finish the season 11-1 or 12-1, however it plays out for them.
Yeah.
And then the other top 10 loss, Michigan State beat Michigan, also in Ann Arbor. So that's 2 home losses for both of these top 10 teams. Not good for either one. 5 turnovers for Michigan. It was pouring, so I can understand a few of the turnovers, but their offense it's the opposite of the Oklahoma problem. Michigan's offense is terrible, and they lost Wilton Speight for the year. It looks like O'Korn's going to be their quarterback for the rest of the year, and he did not look good against Michigan State. No.
Next, Big Ben. Is it time for him to retire? People are asking, because he threw 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions last week.
I think it's an overreaction. I don't think it's time for him to retire, but it was a rough game.
It did look like it was me playing Madden 17 out there, because whenever I play a football video game, I'm going to put up like 40 points, but I'm going to throw 3 or 4 turnovers.
Well, I mean, he was going up against Jacksonville's defense, and their secondary looks like it might be the best in the NFL this year.
It's still Jacksonville.
But that defense might be the best in the NFL this year.
But he's supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks ever. Up there.
He's
up there.
He's up there of the current generation. I don't think he'll even crack like top 20 ever. But obviously 5 picks is a bad game no matter who you are. I don't think he should retire. I think he's getting towards the end of his career, but I think he'll be the quarterback in Pittsburgh for at least 2-3 years.
Yeah. Anyways, that was pretty crazy. You don't really see a established starting quarterback throw 5 picks like that anymore in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a rough game for him. Jacksonville's such a weird team right now. They blow out Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and then they have crazy bad losses on their resume too. They're not consistent yet.
Jacksonville versus the Bills. Who wins?
Jacksonville.
But Bills have had a crazy year too so far.
Yeah, but the Bills, at least we know who they are. They have a good defense, and they have a terrible offense. We don't know what Jacksonville team's going to show up every week, but Jacksonville's played better overall than Buffalo has.
Hey, when you have a top 3 first-round pick every year, it's bound to add up eventually.
Yeah, well, they're looking good this year. Chance they may even win that division depending on how Houston plays the rest of the season.
Bold statement right there. Danny and his bold statements. Go ahead, man. What's the next one you got?
It's been a disappointing last couple weeks for me in the sports world. We'll get to a few of the other reasons later that are more recent, but this one...
the same thing that's on your shirt?
Florida State lost to the Hurricanes last weekend, 24-20.
Hey, I'm here for you, man. It's okay.
It's always tough to lose a rivalry game as a fan, but Florida State was the better team statistically. They struggled on offense early. They couldn't put points on the board in the first quarter when they had great field position and they were pushing Miami back. They were winning the field position battle. Defense was playing great. Defense is going to be a strength all year. I feel like for this team it's going to be the same story. Bad offense, good defense. For Miami, you got to give him credit. Malik Rozier, he didn't play all that great, but he threw a 23-yard touchdown pass with 6 seconds left to win the game after Florida State had gone down and scored with a little over a minute left to take the lead. There's a few positives for Florida State, even though they're 1-3 now. All 3 losses are against ranked opponents: NC State, Miami, and Alabama. So they haven't lost to crappy teams or teams that are not on their level, I guess. NC State was probably the worst of the 3 that they've lost to so far, and they just took it to Louisville. And the offense did show life in the fourth quarter. They ran the ball pretty well. Akers and Patrick ran for 212 yards on 31 carries, and they scored 17 points in the fourth, despite losing the game. And the defense, they held Miami to 2.9 yards a carry, and Rozier, like I said, he didn't have a great game. He only completed 43% of his passes. So the defense was good. They gave up the late drive to lose the game, however, and it's just going to be one of those years for Florida State, 1-3.
It's going to be a fun matchup, the Florida State game at the end of the year.
Yeah, that one could be for McElwain's job, so that'll be interesting. And if Florida State loses that game, then Jimbo's going to be on the hot seat going into next season. So,
you think he'll still be on the hot seat?
If they lose to Florida, if they lose both their rivalry games this year, and that'll probably put them, since they have Clemson on their schedule too, they'll probably be at 5, maybe 6 losses at that point.
I don't think he's on the hot seat. He lost his starting quarterback, and he's already won national championships for this team.
He'll be on the hot seat.
No, we'll see about that.
He'll be on the hot seat.
You're full of shit. Anyways, Georgia is in the top 5 now. Is this deserved, or do you think that they should be lower?
No, Georgia deserves to be in the top 5. Yeah. They beat a Mississippi State team that a lot of people thought was good. Turns out they're not that great. But you still got to give Georgia credit for playing the way they did. That game, they absolutely blew them out of the water. They blew out Vanderbilt last week. They beat Notre Dame, close game, but a quality win. They've looked good. And lately, they've just been a good
season. Jake Fromm's been doing the job.
They've been destroying people lately.
Yeah.
I still don't think they're at the level of Alabama yet. It looks like they're on a crash course to play them in the SEC championship, but they got to figure out a way to get the offense going through the air, because the run game, while it is great and it helps them manage the game, they're not going to be able to run like this against everybody that they play.
Are you smelling a dual quarterback offense by the end of the season now that Jacob Eason's back?
I mean, Eason's still going to get time whenever they can give him time, but I think it's Fromm's job to lose now. He'll probably start and finish any close games, but since they've been blowing people out, Eason's been getting time.
If you can't throw the ball and the running game is really what's giving them the wins, why wouldn't they start Eason?
Because, I mean, Eason had the same tools with this team last year, and would they win 7-8 games? I mean, they've got a better defense this year. Mm-hmm. So Fromm's proven that he can win, and until he makes mistakes, then I think they got to keep the ball in his hands. Yeah. I don't think Eason's going to be lighting it up, even if you're trying to decide between the two against Alabama.
Yeah. Either way, I brought it up to the guys the other day, and I said, I could see Georgia end up beating Alabama in the SEC championship. Yeah. Not statistically on paper, you can't see that there, but it could just be one of those things, like an Iowa State beating an Oklahoma kind of thing. Wouldn't be as drastic, but it'd be a good game at the end of the year.
A lot of things would have to go right for Georgia to beat Alabama at their current positions. We'll see what happens as the season goes on.
Hey, you said that about NC State beating FSU, and look what happened.
Yeah, but Florida State's 1-3. Bama's not going to have 3 losses. So
Wait, they weren't 1-3 at the time. Anyways, go ahead. What's the next one?
Doesn't matter. They didn't have their quarterback. If Jalen Hurts gets hurt, that game's a completely different story. And Alabama may not even make it to the SEC championship.
Coming from the guy that said that NC State's whole team would have to drop dead on the field for them to lose.
Yeah, like I told you, I did not believe in NC State after their first couple of weeks. Their defense is not as... Bradley Chubb is as good as advertised. The rest of their defense, not as good as advertised. But they've been putting it together on offense. They got that transfer, Ryan Lindley, from San Diego State at quarterback, and he hasn't been making any mistakes, and that's helping them win these games. But irregardless of that last prediction that I was obviously wrong about, that you keep bringing up for some whatever reason, that has no bearing on Georgia or Alabama.
Next.
The UCF Knights are still undefeated. We're going to end with 2 years because we didn't balance it out, but okay. The UCF Knights are undefeated still. They beat Cincinnati 51-23 on the road in a rain-shortened game the other week. The game was called with 4 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Now, with 51 points in the three quarters, UCF is number one in scoring offense, leading the nation with 47.5 points per game. This week, they get Eastern Carolina, the Pirates, who is dead last in scoring defense, allowing 47.8 points per game. That is not a good cocktail for your ECU. UCF is a 35-point favorite in this game, and they could put up 70 points. I would not put it past them. They put up over 60 on FIU, and they've put up 50 on Cincy, and they might have got to 60 against Maryland or 50. Maybe it was just 40. I don't know.
I think it was in the 40s.
Yeah, but they put up they've been putting up a ton of points all year, obviously, and this defense is not going to stop them. So it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think UCF's going to take it.
Yeah, that'd be a good game to watch. Fun if you like to watch offenses just manhandle other teams. So I'm going to go ahead, since I stole one of yours, I'll give you the Buffalo one.
You think I want to talk about the Buffalo one?
Yeah.
No, I don't. For any of you who don't know, the Buffalo Bulls, University of Buffalo, they lost in 7 overtimes to Western Michigan, 71-68.
7 overtimes.
Yeah.
71-68.
Yeah.
That's a high-scoring game.
Well, yes it is.
It's a very high-scoring game.
Yeah. 7 overtimes.
But hey, there's a lot of
Ties
good
the record.
takeaways. Buffalo's quarterback threw for like 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. See, that's pretty fun, right?
Yeah, that's great. They lost.
It's still pretty fun. Against the team that was ranked last year.
Yeah, last year. It doesn't matter this year. It's a MAC game. Give me 7 overtimes. I could probably throw for at least 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's another bold statement by Danny. He can't do that.
Look, I'm just saying, 71-68, no defense, obviously. They had to bring out some trick plays for their 2-point conversions. It was a fun game to watch. It was on ESPNU, and I watched it all the way through the 5th overtime. Then I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to go eat, so came back, saw that they lost.
Cried a little bit.
It is what it is. I wasn't expecting it to be that close of a game, but to lose like that, it's
hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's never fun.
No,
not as a fan. Can't really enjoy losing a conference game like that, even if you were expecting to get blown out a little bit.
Hey man, I spent a lot of good money to go to the Florida LSU game, and I watched them lose by a missed extra point.
Yeah, that's
against a rival conference game.
Yeah, conference game.
Yeah, it's okay. We've all been there. And then the last one.
Yeah, 7 overtimes. We've all been there. It's only happened twice in the history of whatever.
We've all been there. We all know what you're going through.
Uh-huh.
Stop complaining. Bryce Love. Can we talk about him for a minute?
Look, we talked about it on the podcast before it happened. They needed to give him the ball more than 10 times, 12 times a game. Started doing that, and look who's probably in the top 3 for the Heisman right now.
He actually had his worst game last week.
Yeah.
Worst game of the season. He only had 15 carries, so they didn't give him a ton more. His worst game of the season, 152 rushing yards with a touchdown. That's pretty crazy. That's not even a bad game, but that's his worst game of the season.
Yeah.
Season stats, 118 carries, 1,240 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 10 yards per carry. Pretty insane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's had a touchdown run of at least 53 yards in distance every game this season. And there's only one that was in the 50s. All the other ones were in the 60s or higher. So he's had a breakout run, a touchdown run in every game, and it's insane.
Yeah, he's electric. He's not going to see a great defense all year, so he's probably going to keep racking it up.
His average longest run each game is 65 yards. So I mean, he's like guaranteed to break it out every game, but yeah,
he's not guaranteed. He's not guaranteed.
It's pretty much guaranteed.
He's not guaranteed anything.
It's pretty much guaranteed. Mm-hmm. He's a beast, and Saquon Barkley doesn't amount to Bryce Love at all.
That's not true. Right? If the season ended today, Barkley would win the Heisman over him, guaranteed.
Yeah, because it's Penn State and Stanford isn't ranked.
Nobody watches Stanford games because they play at 10:15 on the West Coast. That's what happened to Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey set that
There's
record.
a flaw in the system if.
There's already a flaw in the system.
There's a flaw in the system if the reason why the Heisman, who's supposed to be the best player in the game, doesn't win it because of what time of day they play in.
There's already a flaw in the system. You saw Christian McCaffrey. He set the FBS record for all-purpose yards. Had an amazing statistical season. They gave the Heisman to Derrick Henry, I think. Yeah, so
It's not fair.
I don't think there was a reason for that other than the fact that Alabama won more games than Stanford.
I'll tell you why. The Heisman voters, they don't like smart people. That's what it is.
No. That's not it at all.
That's what it is.
That's not it at all.
So that's it for the top 10. First game of the week. Texas State 1-5 against University of Louisiana Lafayette, who is 2-3. Fun little note here. Texas State has given up over 35 points in 4 of the last 5 games, being outscored 191 points to 67. Is there a defense on that team, Danny? Yes or no?
No.
No. University of Louisiana Lafayette, though they only have one more win, they are averaging 37 points per game against similar opponents that Texas State has gone up against. And they actually went up against a good team, Texas A&M, good team in comparison to what they are. And they even scored 3 touchdowns on TAMU. So I don't think this game is close. There wasn't a lot of great worst game of the weeks this week, so this ended up being the one. But I think University of Louisiana wins by 17 or more points.
Gonna be a bit of a blowout then?
Yeah, I think so. It's at Louisiana, so I mean,
right.
Hashtag home field advantage.
Right. We didn't obviously have any upset picks last week. We didn't record a podcast last week, and the one we did 2 weeks ago isn't going to get posted. So I'm not going to go into recapping any upset picks from a couple weeks ago. But
I called NC State over FSU and got it right.
Yeah, that was like at the beginning of the month. Anyway, for the upsets of the week this week, we're both sitting at 2-2 at our current records for these upset picks. I'm going to take Navy over Memphis. And as Jake would say, this is one of those picks that nobody cares about because I'm taking a team that's only favored by underdog by 3.5.
It's okay, I am too.
Yeah, I saw that. But Navy's actually ranked, and
yeah, so that's the reason why I think this is a bitch pick. You're picking an underdog who is ranked.
Yeah.
Versus an unranked team.
Hey, I'm just being smart with my picks. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and you're 2-2, so you're being real smart, genius.
Yeah, 50% on underdogs. That's not bad. All I have to say about that, the only reason that maybe Memphis is favored in this game is probably because they're at home. That gives them that 3-4 point swing. Otherwise, I think this game would be probably straight up on a neutral field. But Navy with their option attack, I think Memphis is going to have trouble stopping it. Navy beat them 42-28 last year. Playing this game 3:30, so middle of the day on Saturday. Memphis has got the air attack. Navy's got the option. It's going to be high scoring, probably not a lot of defense. It'll be interesting to watch, kind of like the UCF-ECU game, except this one is actually expected to be close. The only other thing is Navy last week, they pulled out the triple option out of the shotgun, which I have never seen before, so it'll be interesting to see if they do that again this week. But there it is, my pick, Navy over Memphis.
Wow, what a handsome pick you have there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to the SEC on mine. I'm going to South Carolina, going to upset Tennessee.
Breaking news, just got an alert.
Okay.
The Ezekiel Elliott suspension is effective immediately. It has been confirmed, so he will be out for the next 6 weeks after the bye week.
Damn, he's suspended during the bye week this week.
Nope.
Starts next week?
Well, I mean, he is suspended, but there's no suspension to be had on a bye week, so...
So it's still 6 games afterwards?
Yes.
Wow. So can I continue now?
You can continue now.
All right, rude. South Carolina, I have them over Tennessee. Revamp with Muschamp, Danny. Revamp with Muschamp.
Okay.
Yeah. South Carolina, they're 4-2. Tennessee's 3-2. Tennessee is over in the conference play. Both of their losses is against SEC opponents, and that's an unnamed app that just turned on. Tennessee also barely beat UMass. I mean, come on.
I had an unnamed silver chest available. I'm sorry, everyone.
We're talking about Tennessee right now. I guess that's warranted. Who cares about Tennessee? So I'll make this quick.
I like your pick. Somebody in our group of friends, I think it was Joe, took Tennessee over South Carolina this week, and I don't see it. I think they're trying out a new quarterback because Dormandy is awful, and I happen to agree with your South Carolina pick.
Oh, Joe said Tennessee's going to win?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, that's why he's not in the podcast. And that's why he hasn't been invited back.
Right.
Tennessee will have to utilize the run game to win, I think, whichever quarterback they try to use. South Carolina's rush defense is giving up 145 per game. When you're looking at South Carolina, they did like I said, they've only won one more game than Tennessee, but they have beaten teams that they should have, like Missouri and Arkansas. And they did play Texas A&M close. They should have beat Texas A&M, but it was a close game. At least they didn't get blown out.
Man, what a bitch pick. 3.5 point favorites. Oh, my God. What a bitch.
At least my other 2 picks are, fun.
Nobody cares about your previous picks.
Whatever. You call all your picks smart, and you call all mine stupid. We have the same record. So, you can shut up.
We won't at the end of the season. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, mine will be better. Mm-hmm. So the biggest question is, is it Jacob Bentley? I just keep calling everyone Jacob today. I called Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason.
I would just call him Bentley. I have no idea.
We'll call him Jacob Bentley because my name is Jacob. Okay. Can Jacob Bentley throw around Tennessee's pass defense? Their pass defense is 129 per game. So I'm going to say yes. UMass and Georgia. Georgia Tech threw for over 120 yards against Tennessee. Does Georgia Tech even throw the ball?
I mean, they are a triple option team. They do occasionally throw the ball.
They threw it like 8 times and had over 120 yards. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, South Carolina can throw the ball with unnamed Bentley. Yeah. So that's my upset.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, like I said, it's a good pick.
Thanks, man.
I mean, it's a bitch pick, but it's a good pick.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
So we're about to have a moment.
No. So on to the last bit for college football this week, our game of the week. We picked the same game this week. It is an ACC Coastal Division matchup.
Also, there was no ranked opponents playing each other, so there was nothing good to pick.
That may be your opinion.
There's nothing better to pick.
Okay. Well, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, sitting at 3-1, 2-0 in the Coastal, go up against the number 11 Miami Hurricanes, 4-0, 2-0 in the Coastal.
Too soon, man. Don't call them the Hurricanes.
Okay. Miami's favored by 6 points in this game. It's a huge game for them in that division. The winner, basically all they have to do is get through Virginia Tech, and they should be on their way to the ACC championship game to most likely go up against Clemson or NC State. And as of right now, Georgia Tech, 4-0 against the spread. It's pretty impressive. 6 points, though. They're going to probably have to pull out a win here to go to 5-0 against the spread. I don't see it happening. I got Miami in this game. Both teams obviously can run the ball. Georgia Tech with their triple option. Miami did just lose their best running back, Mark Walton. So we'll see how that plays out. Who do you got in this game?
I'm going to go with... I was looking at this, and I keep going back and forth. I can see Georgia Tech winning this, but I'm going to go ahead and... Yeah, I want to say Georgia Tech, especially with that running back.
Why isn't this your upset of the week?
Because I kept going back and forth when I was trying to make the choice.
Yeah, that's fair.
I could see it go anyway, but for the sake of the podcast, I want to say Georgia Tech. Right. Miami losing their good running back. Last week, obviously when he got hurt against FSU, they did nothing on the ground. They had 40 yards rushing. Yeah. So there was nothing going on there. And their passing game isn't fantastic. Georgia Tech has a pretty decent pass defense. So I'm going to say Georgia Tech. NFL game of the week. We have different ones.
We do. How about you hit us up with yours first?
I had the Green Bay Packers against the Minnesota Vikings. That's the second best game I could see as far as records are concerned. Green Bay is favored by 3. How is Case Keenum going to do against the Green Bay secondary? He had a pretty decent game last week. I know that secondary isn't saying a lot or nothing impressive. But we'll see how this backup quarterback does. But on the other hand, you have a GOAT running the offense.
A GOAT?
Yes.
Like a billy goat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a kid, like a little goat with a beard. Mm-hmm. And so when we had that type of animal running the offense, it's going to be hard to stop it. He's had some impressive finishes in the last couple weeks.
Discount double check.
What was that, 2015?
Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. He did 6 commercials. They were all pretty alright.
It's all about the Ford truck with the dog now.
Yeah.
All right. Keep up.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Keep up.
I'll see it in 2 years or so.
It's adorable.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with Green Bay winning this game. I just don't see Green Bay losing this game.
I tend to agree with that pick. Big division game. Aaron Rodgers is gonna come ready to play. Minnesota can't figure out their offense, so Green Bay.
Oh, thank you so much for your validation.
Yeah, no problem. My pick of the week is actually tonight's game, the Thursday night game. It's the Philadelphia Eagles against the Carolina Panthers. Both are 4-1. Carolina's favored by 3. Not really sure why, but Carson Wentz, Cam Newton, it's really going to depend on which quarterback plays better. Both have been lighting it up in recent weeks. Both teams need to have a run game in order to manage the clock in this game. Carolina, they utilize Christian McCaffrey, and I think they're still trying to figure out how to use him, really. They haven't really broken him out any week. This could be the week that he breaks out. I know that the secondary for Philly is a little banged up, so Carolina, I feel like they're going to take the win in this one.
An inebriated guy that charged me when he saw my Andrew Luck Stanford jersey last weekend at the bars in Gainesville. It's going to be McCaffrey's week this week. He came up to me and kept dropping F-bombs about Andrew Luck, and he looked like he was about to get in a fight with one of Cody's friends, my friend Cody's. And when I started talking to him and sympathizing with him, I found out that he's pissed off at Stanford because McCaffrey he drafted, and he has not been producing for them. But I reassured him it's okay.
Yeah. Why the hell were you wearing a Stanford jersey out in Gainesville last week?
I was already a couple beers in, and my buddies talked me into keeping that on. It was either that or my Crawdad shirt. It's like a tropical shirt, but I just think Crawdad's all over it.
Anything would have been better than wearing a Stanford shirt into Gainesville.
Hey, I got a lot of actually positive feedback from it, so...
That is dumb.
You're dumb.
Did you wear it to the game?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I wore a Florida jersey to the game.
Let's just be very clear about this. I hate people that wear teams or different sports. Well, different sports is okay, but teams that are in the same sport that are not playing and you are at the game. Why?
I see it every year at Florida, Georgia. There's Florida State people wearing their jerseys. There's a Florida State jersey I saw at the Florida game last weekend.
It is ridiculous. I don't understand it. I guarantee you go to any Tampa Bay Lightning game this year, you'll find somebody wearing like a Detroit Red Wings or a Montreal Canadiens jersey, even if they're playing the Florida Panthers. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I hope it goes away forever. Anyway. I think that's about it for football.
It's like wearing a Neymar jersey to an NFL draft for fantasy football.
That is not the same at all because the draft's not taking place at a live sporting event. Idiot.
Wow.
I have enough trouble wearing my Neymar jersey now that he's with PSG. I gotta get a PSG jersey ASAP.
Speaking of soccer, how's that U.S. soccer team?
Oh, yeah, okay, so we're gonna jump right into that. Okay. If you haven't heard by now, the U.S. men's national team failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup.
They lost against like two different people. They didn't. It was two different individuals.
No. They've been to 7 straight World Cups and they failed to qualify. It snaps their streak, obviously.
Who did they lose to?
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, Trinidad and Tobago. These two like European guys that they make sandwiches together.
Caribbean island. This is a bit of a disgrace. If you haven't seen Taylor Twellman's rant on this yet, all you gotta do is go to Twitter, type in Taylor Twellman, TWELLMAN in the search bar, and it'll pop up. Don't worry.
Don't search that, Danny. Give your own little rant. Do it right now.
I'm not gonna give my own little rant because he's pretty much said everything that you need to hear about it, and he goes into a little bit more depth as he is a soccer analyst, and I am just a man doing a podcast with a bear.
Wow.
Look at your shirt.
I don't need to look at my shirt. I know what my shirt is. It's a bear holding 2 beers and it says beer hugs.
Yeah, and also
classic.
My co-host looks like a bear.
Is that a fat joke?
It might be. Anyway, the U.S. men's national team, much like my co-host, is a disgrace.
Okay.
They need to clean house. You go and look up that video by Twellman. He talks about all the money that's put into MLS and into the U.S. men's national team and the amount of funding and the just the population difference between us and other teams in the CONCACAF, which the CONCACAF is the easiest region to qualify out of all the regions of FIFA. And for them to not even qualify, they had to finish in the top 4 of a 6-team group, and they couldn't even do that. Just bad, just awful. They beat Costa Rica in the Gold Cup. They won this year's Gold Cup. They're just so inconsistent. And then in World Cup qualifying, they lost to Costa Rica twice. Combined score 6-0. So, it's just it's a bad day for U.S. soccer. Bad time.
Yeah, we don't need to go to Russia anyways. It's fine.
Don't worry. They're not going to Russia. They're clearly protesting something. They decided they didn't need to be there. So, they didn't qualify for the Olympics in 2012 or 2016 with their U23 team either. So the future isn't even looking that bright for the U.S. Soccer. Women's team's great, but men who make more money for whatever reason, nope.
Well, you had to bring gender into it, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, the women's national team, if you're not up on your soccer news, had to sue like a year or two ago to get somewhat closer to the pay level that the men are at, even though the women win pretty much every event that they're a part of and the men do not. Frustrating.
Yeah.
So, for the World Cup, I will now declare my allegiance for Iceland.
What?
Iceland.
Why?
They're a Cinderella team. Go Iceland. Egypt. Because go Egypt. And Brazil. Because Neymar plays for Brazil.
There it is.
So that is my soccer analysis for the week. You're welcome.
I'm going to go with Iceland. I like that pick.
Yeah, Iceland. They've got about the population of Trinidad and Tobago, who we just lost to, so they can do it.
You know what? Actually, I'll go for Trinidad and Bagel. I'm going to go with them.
They're not qualifying. They finished 6th out of 6 in that group, so that makes the loss by the U.S. even that much worse. All they needed to do was draw, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. All they needed was to draw with the worst team in the group, and they couldn't do it.
Go Iceland.
Go Iceland.
Speaking of Iceland, basketball is right around the corner.
Yeah, okay. Great transition there. Basketball is starting up again, Tuesday, October 17th.
Same storylines as usual.
Yeah. Golden State's the favorite.
Yeah.
The West.
West is way better than the East.
Yep.
LeBron James.
LeBron James in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what you were going to say there. But it's the Warriors versus the world. It's been a couple super teams that have formed Cleveland, obviously with LeBron, Love. They lost Kyrie Irving, but they got Isaiah Thomas, who's out until January. They have D. Rose and D. Wade, I guess you could say, Dwayne Wade.
I would not say D. Wade.
They're going guard heavy for whatever reason. I don't know how that's going to help them, but that's their team. Boston's got Kyrie Irving in that trade. They got Gordon Hayward and Al Horford. And then Oklahoma City, in the most recent news, I think we covered it in the one that didn't get posted, but Carmelo Anthony got traded to Oklahoma City. So now it's Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony in Oklahoma City. None of them are going to be able to beat the Golden State Warriors. Golden State's homegrown their team. All these other teams have gone out and tried to sign players and make them mesh that way. It doesn't work that way. But Golden State over Cleveland, my prediction for the umpteenth time.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about basketball. You got any?
We already have our our postseason prediction right there, so there's no need to cover NBA for the rest of our podcast, right? I mean, we're good. We've already summed up the season.
Yeah. I mean, we all know what's going to happen. We could come back in, April and be like, oh, so it's Golden State and Cleveland. Okay, well, just like we said back in October. We may very well be in that position.
We'll play the same sound bit, too.
Yeah, no, we won't because we don't have anybody that does that for us.
Oh.
So, in other news, hockey also back.
Dude, the Sabres still suck.
Yes, they do. Buffalo is terrible. As we've gone over in this whole podcast.
Everything that has to do with Buffalo is awful. The
Bills?
Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Bulls, Danny Dishner,
right.
The Sabres, they all are just garbage.
Yeah, so there you have it. Fresh take from my co-host, as I would lovingly call him. Barry Melrose predicted the Lightning to win the Stanley Cup this year. Bold prediction.
Totally going to happen.
I don't see it happening. My prediction, just to keep it short, Chicago and Washington, and Alex Ovechkin gets his first Stanley Cup.
So those of you who are willing to spend money on betting in hockey, make sure you screw that Barry Melrose guy. What does he know? Just take Danny's pick. Yeah. Danny knows better than Barry.
Yeah, I do. As we all know, Barry Melrose was the coach of the Lightning for about 9 days, so we can clearly see how well he does in the NHL. Anyway.
Now let's get to the sport that everyone is talking about right now. Baseball.
Yeah, this is the freshest wound of them all for yours truly. Sad podcast for me.
I love it.
Yeah. I guess we'll jump right into the results here. ALDS results. Houston over the Boston Red Sox in 4 games. Chris Sale probably going to finish top 2 in the Cy Young vote. Probably going to finish second behind Corey Kluber, but he went 0-2 with an 8.38 ERA. Did not show up to play in the postseason. He had a better performance out of the pen in Game 4, but still 2 losses in a 4-game series, rough. So Houston moves on to play the New York Yankees, who just beat my Cleveland Indians in Game 5 last night. Cleveland blew a 2-0 lead, becoming the first team in history to blow consecutive two-game leads in the postseason. Did it last year up 3-1 in the World Series, and now they did it up 2-0 in the ALDS this year. So that's...
What are you feeling right now, man?
I'm feeling disappointment is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like this year was a waste. Last year they lost to a team that everybody claims had destiny on their side. Chicago Cubs winning for the first time in 100 and whatever, who cares, years. And now it's Cleveland. Haven't won since the 40s, I believe. And they won 102 games in the regular season, coming in hot to the playoffs. Up 2-0 in the series, looking great after a comeback win in Game 2, and then they just laid down and took it for the last 3 games.
I'm sorry, they what?
They laid down and they collapsed. That's what they did the last 3 games of the series. And it's rough. Just like all of my other teams, as you so succinctly pointed out in your last little whatever the hell that was.
Are you considering following another baseball team?
No. Cleveland is my team. I follow San Fran for Buster Posey, but Cleveland's been my team since I was young. Back then, Buffalo Bisons were their minor league team, and I was always a Manny fan, Jim Thome. So I fell in love with them at an early age, even after the 97 loss in the World Series to the Florida Marlins. I continue to follow this train wreck of an organization. Thought they had picked it up in recent years, but we're kind of back to square one now.
There's always next year.
Yeah, that's what they always say. Most of our outfield's leaving. Jay Bruce is gone. Carlos Santana is actually a free agent after this year. A couple relievers, Brian Shaw, Joe Smith. And then Austin Jackson, we signed to a 1-year deal last year. He's also gone after this year. So not sure who's going to stick around. Not sure what the team's going to look like in 2018.
I'm going over to hug my co-host here.
No, leave me alone.
This is a sign of compassion and friendship amongst 2 coworkers.
After we lose in either the ALDS or ALCS next year, Andrew Miller, Cody Allen, Josh Tomlin, Michael Brantley, and Lonnie Chisenhall are all free agents. So that would be another big loss to the team. We'll see what they do to put some talent around this young team. But Terry, if you do not get to the World Series next year, I think you may be gone, my friend.
He's not really Danny's friend. Danny's never met him in person.
Thanks for clarifying. In the NLDS, the Dodgers swept the Diamondbacks in 3 straight games, outscored them 20-11 in the 3-game series. Darvish, Clayton Kershaw looked good. That's really all there is to say about that. The Dodgers look great, right where everybody expected them to be. And tonight, in about an hour and a half, the Nationals and the Chicago Cubs will play their Game 5 to see who plays the Dodgers in the NLCS. Personally, I think the Nationals have a better shot at beating the Dodgers, so I'm kind of pulling for them, as well as hoping that Chicago does not win because they beat Cleveland last year and started this whole train wreck that is my life. So, anyway, ALCS preview, I don't have much for you. The Yankees may have more pitching depth. Houston's got a great lineup. Contact-wise, the Yankees have a lot of power. Aaron Judge, way too many strikeouts in the Cleveland series. I don't think he'll repeat that in the Houston series. Houston beat them 5-2 in the 7 games regular season series, but that was all before the All-Star break, so it's basically a brand new season when they get on the field. I believe tomorrow is when Game 1 will be, but I'm not 100% on that. The Yankees are going to have to beat either Verlander or Keuchel, probably twice, in order to win this series. I think Houston's going to take it to them, but now I'm kind of hoping that the Yankees beat them.
Yeah.
Kind of hoping they take it all the way, at least to the World Series, so I can say that the Indians at least lost to the team that made it to the World Series.
He does not look happy, for those of you that can't see his tone.
I'm not. This whole podcast has been me talking about how shitty my teams are.
I like it. People love to hate you. That's what our voice of the customer is saying.
Right, yeah. So all 6 people love to hate me, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Well, chin up. Buffalo's coming around.
What? Yeah, what is coming around?
Buffalo.
No, they're not. I don't care who you're talking about. They're not. The University of Buffalo? Nope. That loss to Western Michigan, not good. They get Northern Illinois this week. They're probably going to lose that one too. We'll see what happens when they start playing teams on their own side, but maybe a bowl game for them would be exciting. But
maybe you found a new hobby, yeah?
No. Bills 3-2 and just lost to Cincinnati.
My girlfriend keeps asking me to bring up the Winter Olympics, so start thinking about those sports that you want to watch.
Yeah, when does that start? February?
Yeah, something like that.
We'll see if this podcast is still around in February.
Totally going to be there.
Okay.
I'm just going to take 2 weeks off after each podcast so we make it.
Ah, I see. I'm just going to spread it out to a month. All right, cool.
Well, from over here at Backyard Sportscast, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm Dirty Jake with my co-host here, Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and y'all have a good night.
Mm-hmm.